Hey, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks working group meeting for the 20th of November, 2025. This is the first one after KubeCon North America, and it was very busy and there was a lot of stuff going on. Kubeflow booth was good. A lot of talks about Kubeflow and people using Kubeflow. We'll do a brief discussion about it if anyone has any questions. But the I think in that main community meeting we did a big discussion there. If you want to watch the recording for that, uh, we get as is tradition it seems at this point we did get called out in the main keynotes. Like Niantic showed that we were said that we were being their ML platform, which is great. So. Uh, I also just always want to, before we get to that though, I always just want to show Notebooks 2.0. If you don't know what 2.0 is, it's a rewrite of Notebooks, Kubeflow Notebooks. There's an FAQ here about what it is. We're all working on it, and if anyone hasn't already heard of it, then please read this. And if you have any questions, reach out in the Slack. And if you want to help, please help. There's three kind of major components: backend controller, the backend for REST, like a REST API that connects to the Kubernetes cluster, which is what the front end talks to, and then the backend uses CRDs, obviously, and the controller. So there's that piece as well. And we're always looking for more people, especially on these backend and controller pieces, because it's just quite a rare skill set. So that's always great. Um, I don't know if you want to do anything on the tracking board, Andy. Always.
Not yet. We are getting closer, but I think we should carve out a Tuesday time just to figure out the right way to present and look at that. So I'll put that on the agenda for next week.
I mean, I always say add yourself to adopters. We really should probably do this more in a more public setting, because I mean, lots of people come by and say they use Kubeflow at the booth and things like that at the KubeCon, and um, but getting people to put their name to a thing is always hard, right? It's like you get something for free. Please just put your name on it. It's like cool. The open source curse. Okay, that everyone assumes that it's going to be there forever. Okay, let's. So, anyone got any updates from KubeCon they want to give, or I'm not sure if anyone wants to. If not, then that's fine too. As I was saying, the other community meeting, we did a lot of discussion about it. There is a KubeCon coming up in Europe. Is anyone planning to attend? I guess that's the first question I have. In Amsterdam. I'm definitely not. It's kind of too crazy timeline for me, but it there will be people from Kubeflow there, obviously, but it's just yeah. The North America one, obviously, we should be for next year in Salt Lake City again. We should probably be planning for that as well. Uh, Timeline wise for Kubeflow graduation, I think it's interesting because we probably will graduate before EU, which means we'll probably get keynote spots there. I don't know if that means we won't get a keynote spot in the North America one at the end of the next year, but who knows? Europe does tend to be bigger though, weirdly, than the US one. So well, that could also be because less people travel to the US at the moment just for reasons. So, yeah. But anyway, so anyone want anything add there? I just wanted to highlight it was really good. We had lots of people at the booth. We had lots of talks about Kubeflow. A lot of people have never heard of Kubeflow. We're always coming up to the booth and asking, I keep hearing about Kubeflow, what is it? And it was always the story of if they have heard of it, they might think it's only notebooks or think it's only pipelines. And it was always showing them the diagram of the project ecosystem and being like, this is actually a collection of tools with the sole goal of running AI and machine learning and data workloads on Kubernetes, not pipelines only or notebooks only and things like that. Anyway, so it's always that messaging. So if people ask you, that's always important to highlight. Andy?
Yeah, I was just curious, Matthew, while you were at the booth, I know you and Paulo did a really nice slide deck. I was just curious if you had a chance to really road show that or had any thoughts or feedback on potential reuse of that moving forward.
I think we need to add more slides. So the uh it's like it's the the thing that ran it that, like it works to explain some stuff, but like it explains if you know what notebooks is, it's pretty much fine. If you don't, which is still the vast majority of people at a booth, you know what I mean? At a it's just how it's going to be. There's like 10,000 people there. Obviously, we live in a world where everyone knows what Kubeflow is, but people who are coming out to the Kubeflow booth probably don't know what Kubeflow is. That's kind of probably why they're there. Or they have a problem with Kubeflow. There's the two groups of people, right? Yeah, one of those two. Or weirdly, at one point, the entire leadership of the CNCF showed up to the booth and was like, maybe I shouldn't say it on the recording, but yeah, it was like there's a night on one of the Kubeflow, sorry, the KubeCon always does a night where they give out lots of alcohol and everyone walks around the booths. So it was an interesting experience. Anyway, um, the slide decks for the notebooks. I just felt like there was. I feel like there's. I do like the kind of visual to code, not code, like visual to config like the way the slide deck worked is that it showed like what the look in the UI was and then what the code that corresponded to that like YAML was. Um, I think maybe some visual descriptions of like admin flows would be good. Like, oh, I'm like calling out specifically like, yes, this is the you can talk to it on a single slide. You know, the one that shows the workspace kind and all these other things. You can say, oh yeah, you can redirect and notify your users that they're going to change versions, and you can uh, do these things. But I feel like having not slides, storyboards for that as well, where it's like the admin flow storyboards. Like there was like conceptual storyboard where it's like it goes from workspace kind to option value, image value, pod config value. That was good, but I think we do need uh specific user stories as well. And I think maybe we could also have user ones as well. Like, of course, it's if you're giving a presentation, it's a little bit different. And for a booth, it's about having slides you can jump to answer specific questions. Uh, and I think the best way we could workshop it more is uh just doing fake presentations in our own to each other. You know what I mean? Like we should do a couple of fake presentations to each other and see what happens. You know. Like someone pretends to be a user, someone pretends to be an admin, someone pretends to be a partner, you know, these various things. Anyway, any other questions? We should link that slide deck probably actually as well. I mean, just if someone wants to add that to the doc. Um, they can. Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Okay, dashboard. So, this is obviously was discussion of topic in the last community meeting that while I think the timeline is longer than I think some of the community would realize, like we obviously do want to release a new version of Kubeflow overall, not version of Kubeflow, but like a cut a new manifests tag effectively that says, hey, you can start using all the new versions of all the components that have been released since the last one. And part of that is our release of Dashboard 2.0. It's not technically a rewrite, but you know, moving the code and which is causing a breaking change in the manifests. So I do want to know how we're going with that. Being able to release the dashboard, I mean, 2.0.
Um, yeah, I've been ignoring dashboard stuff. I was hoping Kimonis would be back and he's not. So like I've like ran and deployed stuff from the dashboard repo, but that whole issue of like how to like all of the work to release has been merged. And so like it should work. We just like haven't run through everything. You know what I mean? We've like reviewed PRs individually, ran stuff on forks, but like end to end on the Kubeflow dashboard repo has not been exercised yet. I just haven't prioritized it. And then, like I said, there's this notion of an upgrade script that doesn't work for me. It's not really clear under what circumstances people would want to run that. Because they're probably going to be deploying through a vendor or through Kubeflow manifests. And so then this script living in Kubeflow dashboard um, is kind of weird. It like assumes some overlays. Like, so I don't know. I wanted to talk with Kimonis about that. And then there's the kind of other issue, Matthew, that you've raised, which was never strictly speaking part of like getting it into a releasable state. But now that the V1.11 manifest release is starting to be discussed, what we want to do about potentially breaking apart some of these things to, as you've said, get a lot of the like auth work as Kubeflow dashboard being the source of truth of those manifests.
Do we is the next step then? Is there any outstanding PRs on the dashboard?
162, that's Kimonis's upgrade script. But like I said, that's not like
But
strictly
that's not a real.
like
I can we can cut a test release without that. Is what I'm saying.
yes.
So like we should cut an RC, not an RC probably. We should cut an alpha. Um, or a. The question is, do we want to cut that branch? Because how much? I mean, it's not big an issue. We can cherry pick stuff, but it's just like uh, the question is there benefit now to also, another question is, do we want to start using the same Docker build process as we used for Notebooks 2.0, just to get that in there so that we test that as part of the release? Like that might uh, just like also it allows us to um, more easily add the new attestation stuff as well, which we haven't done in Notebooks 2.0 either, which we probably should do. But
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of priority for, people. It takes someone to code it and then someone to not rubber stamp it and review it. And that's just hard to come by in
I
Kubeflow
guess
dashboard
the
right now.
question is then just we do is like the first option is we just cut a release today. I mean we can cut a release today from Alpha 0. Unfortunately that will mean that will become the version in 1.11 if we're not careful because people will just consume it, right? There is some benefit to not having a tagged release because it means that people won't try and use it in the manifests. But the other option is there anything else we would want to do? Like if that ended up being the release, would we be okay with that? You know what I mean? That's my question, right? So would we be confident that the tests have run and the images are fine? Like this, and if there's anything else we want to do, we should maybe do that first and then do that. Like,
So, I mean, it's just a matter like, is there anything we have to do? No, I feel like we are absolutely at a state of feature parity right now to create a release. If we want to do more, we can, but I think there's like friction in getting that done with the people available to do it right now. Not to say that we can't do it, but doing that means we're not doing something else. And I don't know, like improving the GitHub action image building and dashboard doesn't move the needle as much as some other things with time and developers being limited. Purely my own opinion.
yeah, because like these are the like these components are like there is some parity here in the sense that like these components enable Notebooks 2.0 to work, and also they are very important to the overall project to some extent, But the uh like and but I do think that, for example, I don't actually think the profile controller is that complex, and I do suspect we'll end up rewriting it. I suspect we'll honestly end up rewriting everything in here, just because like I think this was fine 7 years ago, but this architecture isn't correct anymore. Like I think from a auth perspective, like this KFAM decoupling and it's all madness, right? Like and pod defaults is not really necessary after Notebooks 2.0 because it was its primarily used anyway. So like it's like these kind of pod defaults is probably more complex, but profile controller and dashboard, so like I'm not worried about code changes. I'm more worried about like mechanical ones. Like okay, how confident are we? Like we should do a fine tooth comb with the manifest and to see if there's anything else we want to change. You know what I mean? If we're going to just be carte blanche breaking stuff, we might as well make other changes if we think there's any benefit to it at all. Um, and I don't know, but that's probably the only thing I would do before I cut it. Just render it out, see if I like the look of it. You know what I mean? And because it's an opportunity, right? You know what I mean? It's an opportunity to break a few things. Maybe adding better labels or something. Like it's there's enough.
Yeah, I'm completely hear you.
Yeah.
Like I said, relative to other things we have to do, we can talk about it, but I don't think this is as important as trying to continue to get
Oh, no, of
Notebooks
course.
2.0 in a releasable state. In terms
Of
of
course.
adding additional stuff, getting a release cut, I totally get, but
Well, it's just
dashboard's just in a weird state, right? Like if we had two close back-to-back breaking changes, we kind of view dashboard as an optional component. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
it just means
Um,
that we'll be making a dashboard 3.0 in the next release as well. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. It's just a little bit weird. And then we'll probably
yeah,
build
I understand, but yeah, it's like a not required part of your workflow. I don't know if that's, just to get the release out so V1.11 is happy and we have something to consume in notebooks. I think should probably be the priority, even if that means that we realize later we should change something else and that's a new major release. It's an optional Kubeflow component. We're not graduating this thing. You know what I mean? I think it can go through churn. But again, purely my opinion, I wouldn't die on that hill.
So I mean, yeah, we don't need to die on, we don't need to labor this to death anyway. But like, I think the one question is, we currently consume the dashboard manifests from the manifests repo in our guide, right? In our install guide. Is that correct? Like we're planning for Notebooks 2.0. I mean, we've got a Notebooks 2.0 install guide. It points to the manifest repo, or does it actually go to the dashboard repo?
Points to the manifest repo right
Okay.
now.
So like there's a debate as to whether we should cut a release and then start pointing to that one. Of course, we would not be able to point for the auth, so maybe it's not worth it. But it's. Anyway, okay. If anyone has any serious concerns, maybe we'll give it one more week and then we'll cut a release off this because it's not like anything's going to change in that time anyway. Uh, if anyone has any ideas, please raise them. I won't cut it yet because otherwise it'll just guarantee that alpha tag is the one that gets released in the 11. So we can use it as also a wedge to ask the manifest people to migrate some of their code in there. Actually, that's one thing we do want to do. Sorry, before we do that, is that there's a couple of things that manifests that are added in the manifest repo that we should just bring into here. Like that's trivial to do, and it's like let's just even if we don't move the auth ones, even we just need to move anything that was attached to the dashboard piece into this repo. That's my own okay. That's probably what I'd say.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I forget pod security admission. There's a PSA policy that was added. I know that we would need to pull that in. I think that's
move
the only difference I saw from testing.
the dashboard that currently live in manifest repo into the Kubeflow dashboard. Uh,
And I guess that PSA thing isn't an extra manifest. It's like an extra config in the deployment of the dashboard. But yeah, I mean, it's
I just think these are the two main remaining topics. Is before we cut a release. Is like after this cut and 2.0.0 alpha 0. Okay, cool. Yep. Anyone else got anything with dashboard? If not, let's go to quickly notebooks 1.0. So I know that someone was working on this. Was Charles, was it? So the notebooks 1.0, obviously, we're trying to cut a release out of there.
Liav is the one running this.
Okay.
Yes.
So obviously the goal is cut a release that is actually just the same as the old one, maybe with a few patches on the notebook images, but how far are we away from that?
So, as I said before, we have most of the languages upgrade in most of the components. PRs are ready, ready for review. And after that, we will start with the vulnerabilities to fix them. And I think then we can, I think after that, we finish. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy.
So as part of the 1.11 version, we're going to upgrade uh some versions of Python and stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we started with the upgrade to Python 3.12, also the Go to 1.24 and Node.js to 24.
and these other pull requests, is there any so other than these ones here? So we're definitely doing these ones you're saying, and then after that, um, and it for the Node.js update, does that not break stuff?
As far as I saw, you did fix some files, but it's not breaking so much things. So
Like, does
mm,
Angular itself not need to be updated?
sorry,
Like, don't we use Angular in a lot of these?
um, I'm not sure.
Like Angular JS, right? Like, doesn't the front end use that? Like, ng is an Angular command, right? And so the like, does this version of Angular we're using here support Node 26? Is what I'm trying to say.
I need to check it again. I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah, because I don't know if that
l-
version of Angular 14 supports. I doubt it personally. You know what I mean? So like,
As far as I know, you did check all front end side. Also, I took her PR and I managed to build everything, but I need to consult with her to understand the investigation there.
interesting. It is just surprising that it works. It's all. Um, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. And other than that, what other so what's the status on these getting merged? Who needs to review them?
Yes, we need a review for all of them. And we have another two PRs that still in progress for TensorFlow controller and PVC controller for the Go side.
Oh yeah, so the
Yeah.
Go update. Yeah, so the Go update I'm
Yes.
interested by. Well, there's one here that it's work in progress. So for the notebook controller, um, all I know is that Go, which version are we going from? 17 to 24. There was a few
Hmm.
big differences in there. It's these kind of ones are really hard to test, you know what I mean? Like because like these like that's so many versions we need to just because like controller behavior is well, we do need to be a little bit careful with the controller, just because like a lot of projects, for better or worse, use the notebook controller as a single dependency, nothing else. You know what I mean? Like so that they
Hmm.
um obviously the notebooks 2.0 will replace it, but I'm just saying like if people then choose to update it for security reasons, you know, that we need to make sure that the behavior is the same. So how confident are we that the behavior is the same? So like let's see, like the test obviously ran. Uh
Yes, you can see here the test. We ran all the CI stuff related to notebook controller, and also we managed to deploy the component and to create some notebooks.
So the benefit
And
if we do cut a release, is that there's a lot of integration tests in the manifest repo. It's a bit weird, but that's there is actually a lot of integration tests for the overall platform in there. But I do wonder if we should well that's what I'm saying. We'll find out if stuff really is busted or not. There is kind of what I'm saying. But conceptually, still the correctness of the controller shouldn't be affected by this, but I know that there was some changes in even very foundational stuff in Go, like how for loops are handled. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, are there like the way that like things are copied rather than pointers and various strange things. So, that should be good. So, what else who needs to review this? That's my main question.
we're waiting for you, Andy, to
We're
do
still.
the.
I haven't been able to get a hold of Kimonis, Matthew, so we're still stuck on this. I can. Lee Alvarez reviewed it. I will review it, but then we don't have anyone that I see that can actually commit it other than you.
Yeah, yeah, okay. That's interesting. I'll just we should just add it to the because we're not going to be saying that it's ready. Like, so if it looks sane and people have tried it, I think it's fine. The question then becomes how many things do we do before we cut a testable tag that then we actually do an end-to-end test on? Like, so, you know, I think as soon as we start doing security updates, we're going to start doing things that really could break stuff. You know what I mean? Like that, like language updates, who knows? Sometimes, but less likely. Whereas if like it's normally syntactic stuff. If it syntactically compiles, it's probably fine. Um, Security updates. So this is the debate I want to have quickly here, which is like, okay, let's say we merged all these. Say what they say once we've done. So if so, Eliav, is there any other things you want to do other than language updates first? Like, is there anything higher priority than that?
No, before the vulnerabilities, no.
And so, are we currently doing this thing where we push Docker tags from this new branch yet? We are, right?
We're at feature parity with what Notebooks V1 was doing at this point. So like, yeah,
So I'm saying it's like we are pushing on commit, is what I mean. Yeah, yeah.
yes,
So like what I'm saying is we can have we done all the tests? I'm just gonna strike these out. Have we done?
yes, yes, that is done.
Okay, strike through. Have we? So we've set out that one. We have.
Yes.
Um, the release
And the
process.
release process is set up. We just haven't exercised it yet. But again, like all the pieces have been verified on forks and all that stuff. So there's no work there other, well, yeah, the actual
So we
create.
do need to do that part. Yeah.
Yes. But the stuff has been migrated.
Yep. And now this is because this is actually something I'm a little bit worried about. Have we merged any additional PR? So I'm not against just straight up merging, sorry, cutting a test alpha release without any changes. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like, is there any, has any actual changes been merged? I know I think I've seen some, unfortunately. Because I think the goal was just to get a release that was literally the same out, you know what I mean? And then I think we may have violated that a little bit, but
Sorry, when you say we, I'm not, are you saying that other commits have went to the Notebooks V1 branch or other commits have went to Kubeflow?
so both. You see what I'm saying? So like, so strictly speaking, both I think both have happened because people did make commits post the final release from the Kubeflow repo, and they would have been snatched into the new migration, which is fine. I don't that we can just make sure that we just check that. And then has any additional ones been merged here? Like so if we look down the V1 branch, you know, since the merge, wherever that was, like here's this one, right? Move commits. So it's like test, lint, test, you know. There's some of these ones that I think we do need to fix up a little bit. Like I think there was a couple which were a bit strange where they added um some like this is fine, but like you know some incorrect like path matching, but that's just silly stuff. Um,
I don't think that exists in the Notebooks V1 branch. I think you're thinking of the Kubeflow dashboard branch.
okay, cool, yeah, that's good.
So yeah, we should be good here. Now, I mean, there was technically a change because we, as discussed, we got rid of that common
Oh, that's
component.
fine. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, there's nothing we have uniquely added to our Notebooks V1 branch, but it is possible something was merged to Kubeflow that we need to cherry pick.
So this is the debate. That's what I'm saying. We just have this debate now, which is like, are we going to do a language update, PRs? Are we going to merge them all, or are we, like, risk it? You know what I mean? And just because end-to-end testing it, because then what it means is that once we merge it, doing a downgrade again seems crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of that means we're going to be on the hook to fix it if it's broken. You know what I mean? Especially for the one, and I think the question is most relevant for the ones that for the components that are definitely not living beyond 1.0. You know what I mean? Like the TensorBoard controller and the volumes web app, right?
I mean, in my mind, we are graduating this component, whether we want to or not. We have to have clean security stuff, and I'm almost 100% certain at least one CVE is going to require us to upgrade to later languages. So I feel
Oh, I
like
mean,
we
there's gonna
have
be hundreds of them. It's not just one. Yeah, there'll be hundreds of them. Yeah, yeah.
right. So it's like we have to do this language update. So if we find problems with it, we got to fix those problems. But it's like we can only go forward here. We can't continue to exist on 6-year-old language versions while being part of the CNCF.
So effectively, there's three different language types, right? Like there's the Python, JavaScript, and Go. Is there any others?
No.
Cool. Okay. Also, one more thing we will do is just it takes a lot of my time, but I always do it, which is like I go through and as like an AI user or machine learning user, I update what I think the reference Kubeflow notebook images should be. You know what I mean? Like kind of like based off the current trends in the industry around like PyTorch versions and CUDA versions and things like that. I always go, before we cut our notebooks release, that's the point at which I do that usually. And usually stuff breaks because you need to update like on the notebook images, not the controller images, but because we will be releasing new ones of those from here. Although
Yeah,
they
so I think I completely agree, not arguing, but we really need to, and I'll join the release call on Monday, but like we'll be the timeline of when they want V.111 versus updating all 20 plus of our images. We just need to make sure those stories are aligned because that could be
So this one's
gnarly.
critical because we like these have CVEs technically as well in some sense, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
so and while the goal of these notebooks images example servers is very different to the goal of the controllers and stuff because the user can make their own ones if they really care about certain security issues. But for example, like getting to the new Jupyter lab, Studio, VS Code, etc. You know, so every 6 months when we used to cut these releases, stuff would always break, but every year less things would break. Like so, like we would make a better, more robust ecosystem upstream because we would say, hey guys, this is please pin your versions correctly, and we would improve everything in the world and our imageability as well. I've hopes that it will be less complex, but it always ends up being complex. I just have to say, like insane stuff, because when you're installing that many Python dependencies, crazy stuff happens. Like that's just my only kind of vibe there. So I'm definitely willing to spend some time doing that work because it needs for notebooks 2.0, those will be the starting notebooks 2.0 images is as well. So like it's not um we do need to have that discussion in 2.0 about how many and what type, but presumably the first ones that people are going to be testing notebooks 2.0 with will be these. So, for example, getting the latest version of Jupyter Lab, the fact that Jupyter Lab collaboration now is more GA ready, I would love to get that in there. That is a more serious problem, though, but we can discuss. But Istio breaks Jupyter collaboration, unfortunately. So we can fix that. I know the fix, but it is very complex. So, like, it is related to HTTP 3 and WebSocket upgrade connection interception not working properly in Istio and so many other crazy things. So, like, um, sorry, not WebSocket, upgrade HTTP calls. So other than these, is there any other things we want to do before that 1.11 final release? We can cut a 1.11 alpha release before then, but so I guess we're doing the language before or after the alpha release. That's the question.
Think we should get the language in first. Just my own personal opinion. You could
You
talk me
don't think
off
we
that.
should test the CI/CD knowing that the CI/CD should pass in its current stage? Because are there any CI/CDs we don't run except on release? Well, yes, in notebook in the manifest repo, but that's different, you know.
Yeah. Like the multi-arc stuff, but again, that was all individually tested, at the individual components level. But
Hmm.
I
I
mean, it's that code, right? It's the code block of if refs equals, notebooks v1 branch. That's all been ran on fork, but it hasn't run on the main repo for what
the
it's
only
worth.
difference is the manifest repo tests, like I'd say, right? Which is like, which of course is a big mess because um it's just going to make their get history a nightmare in their one as well. But so it's yeah, okay. I'm not against. So I guess what we're saying is, oh, and we actually also need to do this as well. Uh, and then we'll say like th that. So I think we're pretty much here, right? So let's and then what I will do is this one I'm going to say not in first alpha. So my goal hopefully for the other people here is to get this release cut in the same way for the dashboard. Let's do a big cut. Let's do a release cut session for both of them probably. Like maybe do we think we can get those other ones merged before this time next week? The pull request one, the language ones, or do we need another week?
I can comment more. I was going to start to look into stuff tomorrow. So if not next week, certainly week after, but I'd love to try to get it next week.
Um,
next
I
week
mean, I
is
can just work with
Thanksgiving.
Liav directly. I don't want to take your time, Andy. I can just
Oh
work
wait,
with.
next week is Thanksgiving. So yeah, so we actually need to do
Oh,
the
and there is
follow.
Thanksgiving. I forgot. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Eder.
Let's do that. Either way, let's do this the week after. Yes. So
Yeah, and we also have two PRs that's still in progress. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Those are
maybe.
the ones I'm asking about. So like what I'm saying is, Andy, I think I should work with Liav directly to get those merged, not you. And then you should keep doing Notebooks 2.0. You know what I mean? Like Liav, are you based in the US or
No, I'm from Israel.
so what I'm saying is we could do a Thursday meeting if you're willing to meet on American Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
Yeah, because
I will be here. Yeah.
yeah, like because if I
Yeah,
mean yeah.
Matthew, Paulo and others. Paul is from Brazil as well. He'll be here probably. He's
But,
working.
I
He's
mean
not
I'm in the
working
US, but
today. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't really I'm an immigrant, so you know. Um but the so all I'm saying is we could use that time to just like spam through those, but what I would expect for you to do before that meeting would be to um, have actually run those tests because I'm effectively just going to be trusting that you've run the tests. We could do a quick look at them this afternoon as well, just so I can like say this is horrendously wrong, or like for example, I do want you to confirm that the Angular version is within the realm of supported versions for Node, for example. You know what I mean? Like because there's no way it
Yeah.
is, and then that one might not be mergeable, is what I'm saying. But the um like what we should I'm happy to do that if you have I mean I can spam through them with Andy now as well, you know what I mean, or maybe later, but maybe we
No,
do.
I think yeah. So I think the plan of action here. I'll do a brief review of stuff on Friday. I will sync with Liav early next week, and then you guys can plan. That should get things staged to a point that you and Liav can rip through stuff next Thursday. I think is the way to look at this.
Because I don't know if I presume we will meet on Tuesday, but I don't know, right? Like that's kind of we could do it after that meeting as well, like just yeah. Because I do want to have like I feel like there will be a couple where I'm like, I do want you to look at this, and someone will need to have time to go and look at it, and then just confirm because we're gonna do tests, obviously, so that's gonna capture most of the problems. But I'd prefer that we don't merge some like, for example, in the Node.js update, it's like I prefer that we just don't merge that if it's like going to be requiring an Angular update. There's no way we should merge it then. Like that should just be done as part of those security updates that happen subsequently because it's crazy complex to do an Angular update. So like the so Leah so I guess plan of action focus on getting those other two ones ready.
Mhm.
Uh do please take a quick look at the node Angular alignment. Uh if everything else, like play around with it, do some tests on your own, like running them with the new versions. If we think that it's good enough to cut an alpha release, it's not a release, it's an alpha release, you know, the week after, then uh so like 2 weeks from now, let's plan to cut that alpha release on both dashboard and notebooks is what I'm saying. 1.0.
Okay.
If you need any questions answered, please message. Okay, any other comments about 1.0? So I think this is the current kind of this I'll do this one, this notebook example images. People feel free to these often are just very tedious and painful. I don't know if anyone else wants to try and learn how I do it when I do it. Maybe we should do a live stream. It's so painful. Um, okay. And then we need to remove the code from 1.0, obviously, once we've cut that alpha release. And then, oh, yeah, so actually, this is an interesting, I'm just going to put this note under here as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say now that you have that other thing, I think yeah, removing that. Yep, exactly.
So what version, can someone, Eder, can you explain what you mean, or Andy?
Um, yeah, so I because of the SDK that Andre's been talking about, right? Like we probably want to include that SDK in there. And then I don't know, Eder, if there's like Kale fits into this or not, but definitely the
It's
Kubeflow SDK was the big one.
it, yeah, that this will come by this working group that they want to include by default the SDK in our images.
So the problem we had last time is that there are, so I don't so currently only the pipelines SDK is installed, and that was because the other ones were incompatible with pipelines. So I know it's ridiculous, but like so historically the Kserve and training SDKs were not compatible with pipelines SDK because of dependency
Hmm.
on other packages. We did try and resolve that last release, but I imagine that will have happened again, I suspect, because there's some dependencies that pipelines depends on that are very fast moving and weird. And so um, if we add another, like my only reservation is that it is trivial for users to add packages, and I feel like the SDK is an alpha product. You know what I mean? Like that is kind of my only worry because these get baked into the base of, well, even if it gets only added into the top layer, which I think is the case, right? Like that there's like if we look at the graph of notebooks, this is good to have on the recording for people. Um, there's a nice graph. It's also on the website. Oh, it's 2.0. I need to go 1.0. And this is a nice graph here. It's like so. Even if we only added it to these ones that say full, which I believe is the case, like if we go to these ones,
Yep.
see, this is we add KFP only, and so the reason we didn't add the other ones is because there's notes about it. They were fundamentally not able to be installed concurrently, the other ones, up until now.
KO will be easier because KO depends just on KFP right now.
But I thought Kale is a Jupyter Lab plugin, so that could cause real problems.
Yeah, but which problems?
Well, what's good about yes, uh, the question is as people use these for their own purposes, right? So the most of the time I expect people to pull from these ones, you know what I mean, as their base, or the one above even, like if they can either start from PyTorch only or Jupyter only, if you know what I mean. Uh, but never really the full ones. The full ones are more just meant to be the example ones you start when you play around with the project. Um, so I guess it's just a debate as to Kale. I'm a very skeptical we should install. I don't know what the current state of Kale is. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's far from be ready. It's far.
yeah, that's what I thought, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But the SDK is a need right now because
Yeah,
they
I want the
probably are gonna
SDK.
be
To be clear, like
yeah.
for reference at the Kubeflow booth, there was the one of the things that I think got the people the most excited were the SDK, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. And if the SDK is a problem of compatibility, Matthew, we can just report them and tell them to fix.
No, but that's not the actual reason I didn't want it. It's not because of compatibility. It was because you're going to be releasing lots of versions of the SDK, and this image is going to exist for years, potentially. See what I'm saying? So, like, the issue I have is that it might be better if we just tell people, please just install the latest one in your own image when you make your own image or when you start your notebook, you know? Like, this is kind of like pipelines.
I think I understand your point, but this is something that I think is their strategy that we need to talk with them. If they want to tag with a Kubeflow release a specific version of the SDK that makes sure that work with all components in a
I feel like
specific version, right?
eventually that will probably be the case, but I think initially,
Yeah.
no way that's the current case, right?
No, yes, but I'm assuming like if they like with next release of the Kubeflow, there is a lot of, and they're discussing this in the SDK to have a matrix of dependencies that they make sure that work with other components, a specific version, and then we can do this, I would say.
My,
But
because
it's a valid point.
my other major concern is that pip is really not very smart. And so if you significantly change your dependency tree, um, having of like right now, what will be 6 months from now, an incredibly ancient version of the SDK installed in an image that most of the Kubeflow notebooks users have, you know what I mean? It might literally not be possible to do a pip install of the new version just because of the way that pip works. So like pip is very stupid when it comes to dependency management. So like if I say you have significant changes in your dependency tree, in some way, I don't know, like it's possible, is what I'm saying. Um, uh,
I think what we can do is as soon as they, I understand your concern.
yeah.
As soon as they raise this officially, Andy, we can start
Yeah, so my
to
question
mention
is
this.
for next week. No, my question is straight up for next, like, you know what I mean? So like, or not next week, but like for the 1.11 release, right? Are we going to include the SDK in that one?
I can
I think
start
we
this
need to
question.
talk with Andre about
Yeah.
that, right? Like that reminder note from me came out of the ML experience group, but it wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily we need this right now, but it's like when, so I think we need to like involve Andre in that to understand if it's a requirement now or not, right? Because we didn't
Yep.
know when 1.11 like wasn't even a real thing 2 months ago when I added this note. So I think, I'm agreeing
Yep.
with everyone here, but let's first understand from Andre if this is even a V1.11 concern or not, because then we can just potentially not worry about it and everybody's happy.
And users can pip install it easily anyway. Like it's this, and it's just a question of like pipelines make sense because it's both forward and backwards compatible. Whereas like yeah. Anyway, I just want to highlight that. Okay, and then code release. Okay, we really have talked so much about this other stuff. I'm so sorry. We do need to move on to 2.0. Okay, so 2.0. I'm so sorry for everyone here. We're gonna have to blast through some of this. We might have to go a couple minutes over if people are willing to stay. So priority one remains being able to deploy and run Kubeflow notebooks 2.0. We are very close to that being the case. It is technically already the case. We just don't have it documented. Um, the the wiki page is still kind of in progress. There's some confusion about the best process to explain to users how to vendor the manifests and edit them to include a specific tag of the Docker image. I think we've agreed on how to do it now. We just need to write down those steps into the doc and then publish it. Andy has done some really cool work on Tilt, which is, in my mind, related to this, meaning that uh, users obviously shouldn't do this, but developers here in this call definitely should, which is I really would like everyone who's working on 2.0, even if they don't know, even if they're not familiar with the backend and the controller, as almost like a prerequisite to like, if you haven't already, run the actual app end to end on a cluster on your local machine. You know what I mean? Like this is like really important. Even if like it shouldn't be hard, and if it is, you are as a person, whoever you are, who has trouble, will be a very good point of like that you'll help pipe clean the problems. That's kind of what I'm saying. Where you might like people's environments are infinitely varied. They're your laptop versions of Windows, Mac OS, Linux, whatever you're running. Like these crazy or your made like and who knows, right? The idea is that anyone who's using Kubeflow notebooks developing Kubeflow notebooks 2.0 really should be able to deploy the whole thing, right? Even if what you're doing is just reviewing styles on the front end, it is very easy to run kind on your local machine, assuming your company lets you, obviously, and or if you don't, then maybe run on a local laptop, another machine. Um, I particularly want to ask people who are Windows users to try. Um, just because I worked with Microsoft a couple of years ago to fix some Istio issues in the WSL, and I think those are fine now. But I just like do want to pipe clean those.
I
Uh,
don't think our make files will work with Windows right now for.
Windows subsystem for Linux is what I meant to
Sorry,
say.
got
You know
it.
what I mean? Yes, right. So,
Yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yep.
so like I don't expect anyone would be able to make anything on Windows. But what I mean is like users who are only on Windows are likely to be running WSL. I don't think anyone in this call is likely to do that, but it's just one of those things I say on the recording. But in the future, to be a maintainer of any component, it'll be an expectation that you can prove that you actually know how to deploy the thing in a development form. And Andy's made it very easy. So with Tilt. So that's kind of what I'm saying, right? So um, because it's everyone's responsibility to be able to do some basic end-to-end testing when you make any change. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the like other projects have similar requirements like Argo CD and other things. Like even if you're touching the front end, like people say run the end-to-end test, play around with it manually. Like this is critical. Um, and so Tilt is a way that you can. Tilt is not required to do that, but it is a way. I'll just quickly say what it is. It is a way to run things uh, without having to build new images every time you make a change locally. It'll just capture your Go changes, throw them into the code. It's quite cool. Okay, so in terms of getting this priority done, this is obviously the current outcome here, and we've already done this. Mainly, not quite actually, but I'm just going to strike this one out. Okay, and so that one we hopefully will have done in the next day or two, just with the new changes. It's related to our full, and so what we're doing is me and Andy are aligning this guide somewhat to the end-to-end tests. So hopefully in the near future, in the next week or two, we'll have true end-to-end tests running on the Notebooks 2.0 on every commit and PR, meaning it'll actually run a Kubernetes cluster in the CI, install Notebooks 2.0 with not auth, to be clear, but with the dashboard. No, yes, maybe. No, not dashboard. So no dashboard, no auth,
But it's Istio.
but with Istio, yes. Okay, anyway, next priority, I think some of these things are already done. I'm just going to skip to the next one because I think this is mostly Andy and me working on it. You want to add anything here, Andy, before you skip to the next one?
Nope.
Cool. Okay, priority 2, front end connecting to back end. Charles, I think you were working on this. So obviously the goal here is to be able to use the stubs that we've been creating for the APIs. Like I think volumes hasn't quite been stubbed yet, but secrets has, and create workspace I think almost has. I think it might be close to merging today. So Charles, what's your kind of vibe on how soon we are before there's no more mocked APIs anywhere in the front end? You know what I mean?
Oh, for that, that's not just like our ta we have to convert the stub APIs to at least like a functional API at the moment. Since like Andy did some good work on the stub secrets API, but we still need to scope that out
So
to
wait, yeah, sorry,
convert
I
that
want to
into
clarify something
Cassandra.
Matthew said because I'm not sure. You said mocked APIs, Matthew. The UI is not using any mocked APIs anywhere now.
Yeah.
So it's stubs or real full-fleshed
When I say
implementation.
mocked, I mean ones that are mocked in JavaScript, not mocked in.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So those
we don't have like a mocked API server, but what we have is just mocked JavaScript objects so that we can render the data.
Yeah, that's fine. What I was more
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I would prefer that those stubs actually do come from the back end, if you know what I mean, in the production deployment version. During tests, that's fine, but during like when we run this test we just talked about, like deploying end to end, I want every call to correspond, every button I press, I want it to correspond to a back end call that is actually happening on my browser.
that is, yeah, that is already the state of the UI. There is one specific target for pure front end development that does
Yeah,
serve
yeah.
mocked data, but that's like a specific, package.json run script that, only front end would do for reasons. But like all the actual testing and integration and deployment stuff is all live, no mocked APIs in any integration style capacity.
That's good. That's a massive progression from where we were when we started this priority. So I guess the question then is to now spiking into specific, spiking as in focusing onto one vertical slice. I think we were talking about the create workspace
Up,
flow.
you mean update works. Well, create workspace as an umbrella, but like create workspace is there. But yeah, secrets are close. Charles and Jenny are doing great stuff there. Icons and logos we're very, very close on. We just kind of closed on some front end nuance around how to cache some of these assets, but
I
the
would argue
back
that's
end.
actually one of the things I just described, though. Like that is a faked API, right? Because the real world, the backend should be telling it where to find the icon, right? You know what I mean? Like that's in
No,
my
I mean it calls the API that is returned in the CRD or in the custom resource,
thing.
but then if the image isn't loaded and they're running in their mock mode, it just serves up a default image. But it is calling that thing, it is failing because it's wrong, and then the UI just serves in mocked mode. But if you run this in integration wise, you just get a broken image link. So that's not mocked. We're
Like our
just the
backend,
backend serving the wrong data, but the UI
what
contract
does our backend
persists.
serve right now? What does it serve?
Like a hard coded URL that didn't correspond to anything. But like when I implemented icons and logos, I made zero change. Well, not technically speaking, zero changes, but nothing around the serving of images. It just worked. So that's all good on the front end.
Okay, cool. Just make sure. I just want because my goal is just that like the front end can do their own mocks. That the reason I just hit that so hard is just because the goal is that the front end isn't blocked in what they're doing. The back end just is what it's going to be, but it just may not be implemented yet. You know what I mean? Rather than
Yes.
yeah.
So we are in that state. We just need to keep opening up more stubs and then implementing the stubs that then have been merged. So
And
yeah.
then specifically the secrets, right? So this flow is very complex for users. So I just want to know where we're at with like the user experience on this. Like I know that the stub exists, but have we actually got for the front end, what is the flow feeling like right now?
Yeah, Charles, I'll shut up. You can speak to that.
Okay, so for the secret right now, we are Jenny is working on the creation piece. We do have a creation form to begin with, but like we want to explicitly support the opaque secrets type. And so Jenny and I were talking yesterday a little bit, and got a good chat on where things are going with that. I am pretty confident we can probably get it done within a week or so. And then I was working on attaching secrets. What that means is like when we go into the attach modal, we can just grab all the secrets that is available in this namespace and start to attach it into the workspace on the wizard. And also, yeah, just atta you, we, you, I was modifying the code yesterday to just to um, allow users to attach the same secrets into different mount paths as well, because we do have that on volumes. And I think another thing that I was working on is viewing the attached secrets, like viewing as in like we were discussing a little bit about the viewing the content, and we don't want to explicitly show the user the actual contents like the API keys and stuff, but we want to show different fields like AWS API key or something like that, like just the name of it, so that the user has an idea of what's inside. Yeah, so all those are in progress at the moment. We were using the stub API to make all of this happen, and yeah, some mock objects using the stub as well. But yeah, it at some point I can probably show the whole flow, but up right now we just need a couple more review. We need to start reviewing on the front end and the stub API too much before that can happen.
And oh, the stuff hasn't been merged. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then how are you deciding to handle these? Like, I don't know if these were the finalized ones.
Oh, we were gonna discuss this today. I was talking with with Jenny on how to handle the can update, can mount, and immutable. Actually, so for can mount, if the can mount is false on an existing secret that was created before the wizard, then we do still display it, but we are disabling it from the drop down option so that you can't select it. That one is a little easier. I for can't update and immutable, I'm not sure how to handle that at
So
the
when you
moment.
say drop down, I do worry that just doing it in a modal drop down might not be, it might make it hard. You know what I mean? Like, because the user, what I would love to see is an indication to the user that there are ones that they can't mount,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they should tell their admin, "Oh, I need to be able to mount that." You know, like if that's like because,
We do render it.
but like it should have like my thought. I don't know, not like feel free to disagree, but like I felt like it would be more like what the volumes look like almost. You know, where they're like almost cards, or maybe not cards, but maybe a table or a card view, right? Like almost a table view. A table view, right? Is kind of what I was with you can have a lot of information about the thing, but and then hidden by default are the ones you can't interact with. But then you can click show me them all, and then you could say a warning icon saying this secret does not have the appropriate label to be mounted. It must be
Um,
changed, you know?
we can definitely implement that. Like instead of graying out, we do have
Well,
a
gray out as
function
well.
function to do like the show more, just a hide to begin with, and show more can show that. But like I think the drop down is just to make things is also the drop down is searchable. So like you search for a secret.
So
It makes
sorry to
things a little
interrupt here. This
easier.
is great discussion, but I just want to bring us back to task of the original goal of this was get a stub, get a quick and dirty UX experience that leverages all of this, and then we can iterate later. So like just to like make this like clear, like we're talking about a more ideal UX. I think that is very, very important, but I don't think necessarily that needs to be the target when we merge this. Now we clearly need to still view this and review the flow and all of that jazz before this merges, but I want to make sure like we kind of or people can tell me I'm full of crap that like this is very much a two-pronged assault. Let's get this working, get it in there to get feedback from people, and then iterate to make it more pleasurable. But I don't know if like cannot
Yeah,
use drop down is like a deal breaker to land some of this functionality initially.
And
yeah, I want it to have at least a minimal flow at the beginning. It might not fit the best UX at the moment, but like it does work. It does call on the existing secrets to get the existing API to get the existing secrets, and then yeah, so things like that. I feel like it should be able to work, but then we can debate more on the flow later, but I'm excited to get this at least merged with the step API so we can start talking about improvement.
so my minimum definition is that every field in the API is used. So that might be a little bit more complex than just like, so
Yeah.
right now I suspect you're not using type, immutable, can mount. And so even if you're using it by just throwing it as a field in a table on the selector, like I just don't want, and like all of the currently mounted workspaces should also show there, right? You know, like so this is a lot of information that I just suspect won't work in a dropdown. That's kind of where I was like, or if the dropdown, that's where I'm like, my intuition is that I might be wrong, or it might be that you have a dropdown and a different view. But like my definition of minimum integration is that all of the fields that are presented by the backend, including audit, probably are actually served to the front end, even if they're hidden behind a random three dot click or something, right? Like it's just so that then people can be like, hey, it would be because what I then to get what Andy said is like users can then say, hey, it would be better if this was like this because the user just won't even know that there is this information that is surfaced otherwise.
That sounds very reasonable to me. Yeah.
Even if it looks terrible. In fact, if it looks terrible, better because then users expect it to be changed. You know what I mean? And then they're like, "Hey, there's so much information here. Can you please just format it like this or something?" Right? Because you see, these are quite. And so I don't know what the current state is relative to that. I'll let Charles say that if he wants now. Do you have?
Yeah, yeah. We can display some of the more information on the even in the drop down, like we can have this subtitle like, oh, what's the type? We actually do display the type in there at the moment as a subtitle. But immutable, we can also display that. But can mount, I just like use that as a way to gray out or disable certain images,
And
not
throw
certain
them to the
images.
bottom, right? Like, do they go to the bottom of the list or something? Or
We can't do that. This is not hard. Like the sorting, we can filter out. I right now I'm just doing alphabetical, but that can work
it's
too.
fine if
Throw
it's
out the
alphabetical too.
random's
I don't
bottom.
mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My definition of
So
just
so the
selecting these
type,
or these ones
yeah,
and audit.
the type and the immutable can be there. And for the view, for the content of each secrets, I think the user have to click on like an icon so
Yep.
that they can see what fields are in there.
That's fine. That's always going to be the case because the list API won't tell you the keys anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And but these two like mounts and audit are critical to for the user to know that that is there so that when they make suggestions, they can make suggestions like, hey, give me a link to the workspaces that it's using or something. You know, like who knows what they might suggest.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
we yeah, at least like I think we can yeah, we I can see how the audit is gonna be, but yes.
but for mounts, do you show mounts? Because this one's actually more important than audit.
For mounts, like in the workspace wizard, I am not sure how to handle that at the moment. Like
This is
because it will be very busy.
the most important ones, especially because it'll be the same for volumes, but in a different way. But audit, by the way, I just want to highlight, this information may not be populated. So you do have to also have the front end handle that.
Yeah, okay. If we want to be like very verbose about this, we can use a table like with checkboxes, but I don't know. I think it is good to at least have the minimal view at the moment. But
But yeah, I don't mind how it is, but I just want to make sure that the front end throws all this information at the user, even if it's ridiculous, so that they know that that information is there and can make suggestions on how better to present it. But even if it's behind a three dots, like even if we just literally decide everything's going to go behind the three dots, or maybe a hover over, information thing, like you said.
yeah, I was thinking about like doing a popover, like Yeah, like I said, like when I click on an eye icon, there's gonna be kind of a sticky tooltip component that's stuck on top with like more information inside.
And so you could have that there, like this was saying. And it's like, so that then the user knows those are things that are available if they want to suggest things. But yeah, cool. Other than that, let's keep going. Anything else that we're spiking into, like the create workspace overall? Is there any other areas? I know we talked about compatibility selectors, but um, like image config, pod config, these are obviously haven't really changed in the API, so we'll come back to that.
So yeah, the main focus right now is icons, logos, secrets, and update workspace soon. That probably in earnest because we just landed on some API stuff I need to write back up and fix. I have a draft PR open, but I'll get that updated probably by Monday. But realistically, we won't be spiking into that one until probably post Thanksgiving. And then we'll start to revisit volume stuff to lock that down as well.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, I think a lot of the secrets UX we're talking about, it's totally different under the hood for a lot of reasons, but I think a lot of the secrets UX becomes applicable to volumes too, so we can kind of get an initial.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like volumes really the card or table-based approach will become critical. I really just don't see a world in which that isn't how we should, because users should view it as a thing that is attached almost. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, who knows? We can debate it later. Okay. Istio, any other comments about number two, which is like making sure that every like the main workspace related flows in the UI are done and connected to the backend? Any other comments before we move to the last one? We're 15 minutes over, I'm sorry.
As a general high-level guide, and if it's complicated, let's not get into it because we're already over, but I'm interested in the logs and events. Are there things about the functionality in V1 that you hate that we feel like need redesigned, or kind of a lift and shift of how V1 handles that into V2 is a reasonable first pass?
Um, the question of what events mean is, I think, the biggest one because, like, I think the whole point of Notebooks V2 is that we are abstracting away the concept of the pods to the user as much as possible. So realistically, pod events probably shouldn't be there. Anything like that probably shouldn't be there because anything that's a failure on our behalf for not abstracting that as a useful status message to the state message, sorry, to the workspace. Because there's no guarantee that I don't want the implementation details of how our controller works to have any bearing on the user's experience. Logs, obviously, the user needs to see the logs for their IDE, right? Like so that they're standard out and standard error on the notebook itself. Like Jupyter throws things into the logs. They should be able to see those. Um, the so those ones have to be there. Events, I don't think should be there at all. Like I don't really know why there's events there right now. Like in my mind, if there is an important event, it should be our events only, which are workspace events, and we don't currently do that. So like there's no events, right? From the user's perspective, the implementation is opaque, right? That's kind of what I'm saying. The logs though, not opaque because that is a process that the user knows exists and will always know exists because it's Jupyter. There is a security concern, obviously, that Jupyter sometimes logs information that it probably shouldn't, but if the user has access to the workspace, they probably have everything that the logs would show anyway. So it's kind of that. But what it means is that we don't need the events, so we can say the whole thing. But events, I think that's actually really important. I'm just going to say here, currently, works. I don't think we have any, right? Workspace CRD does not emit events, so this might be able to be deferred. We also probably don't want to show pod events because these should be summarized by the workspace state fields. I think we were talking about that last time, but like historical events, I mean, yeah, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. Everyone feel free to disagree with the event idea, but it seems like the whole point of this is to get people away from thinking about pods. So,
Seems reasonable to me.
Yep. I guess the question obviously is, does the admin want to see events in their admin page? Maybe, but who knows? Maybe that's a separate discussion. Possible, except possibly we should show pod events to admins in the workspace kind page, but hide from user in the workspace page. Okay. Last one. Any other comments here before we go to this one? I know we're way over time. Okay. Last one, Istio integration with controller. I know we merged a lot of these PRs. I'm trying to remember exactly what the next steps are. So this is done. I mean, so the next priority here, I think, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think those like SSH is kind of the next one, but like Harshad's looking at culling right now, as that seems to be just lower hanging that we can get that in quicker.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not, where would that be under? Culling is literally not under anything, but okay. Are we? Because I do think priority 3 is not that, you know what I mean? Like it is, but it's like that. It's an interesting debate, right? Because the whole idea of this is that Istio is kind of complex and stuff, and that's where we were. I know that I think we decided not to do this one straight away either until we've had a little bit more testing to see if
Yes.
something needs to change.
Yes. So yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Fair. I don't think anything in priority 3 is near term actionable right now. Speaking nothing to its importance, I just don't think we would actively prioritize those next steps yet relative to other things we have going on.
Yeah, so I guess then we probably need to highlight that being like priority 3 is a priority. This priority we can't. We could also close it out in some sense, right? Maybe this is done, like the and then have this be future things. Um, we probably should do that. Okay, let's debate that later. I think probably priority 3 probably can be closed. I think that's probably what it is. Or
Yeah, that would be the right way to do, I guess.
like
As we have already completed the major parts, right?
yeah, and I guess well, I guess once the it's probably once the end-to-end tests are done, and maybe I don't know, like then I guess then the question becomes like controller complete. The SSH one involves Istio though, so like that is one that I think like is that a top priority? Probably not, right? So it's like
Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
I think it's like a 2.1 top price. It's like, the driving thing behind
Oh, I think the reason.
2.1.
Okay, no, I think this is a top priority, which is we need to actually just agree on how we're going to do it, even if we don't do it, right? Like that. This is a design thing. It's like not implementation. Is there something foundational that needs to change about our approach, or are we good to just push forward with gateway plus virtual service being the only router? Because SSH obviously doesn't use L7; it uses L2 or 3 or whatever the hell TCP is. So, um, I think that so I would like to see Hashad help with that design. You know what I mean? Like that's probably something I would like to see before we can close this out. Because then it's like if it's really busted, then we need to think about it a little bit, right? That's I think that was the reason we had it here still. So like the goal here is because this can impact the overall network architecture, we should be agreeing, well, but not implementing that it's possible to how we plan to do this in notebooks 2.1. Uh, that is how to reconcile that SSH is L4 and HTTP is L7. L4, right? I've honestly forgotten where TCP is. And how we would route the user's SSH to the correct workspace pod. Okay. This is like this. There's a lot of discussion there, but I do want to hear people's thoughts about this. Not just Hashad, everyone, but not right now. Hashad, is there anything else you know about this priority 3, like Istio routing, HTTP stuff that you want to comment on?
Yeah, as of now, this was it. Uh, Maybe with time we can, as you said, like we can keep debating on the SSH one, and as soon as we get some design, we can keep like bring back implementation on it. But that's pretty much what I knew.
Cool. And of course, we're just going to wait until we've kind of matured the overall stack before we start pushing into the generic APIs, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool. Okay. Stand-ups, I'm sorry we got a bit late, so is anyone here who's here who has to leave first? I guess Jenny, do you want to go first?
Yes, can you hear me? Oh, it
Yep.
looks okay, perfect. Yep, so I've just been working on some fixes to UI. So yeah, one of them there's to the workspace table row connect button. I think that's something that Tal had flagged recently, and then just some workspace table image proportions and things as well. And then yeah, like Charles was saying, just working with him on the create secret modal, just discussing the functionality that's needed there. And yeah, I think also that we should be able to get that merged hopefully within the next week. It's very close, and yeah, mostly has everything we need, just except for some fixes that are needed from the theming style sheet that are required to make sure the UI there looks good and is how we want it to be. So yep, that's it for me at the moment.
Is there anything you'll once we do get that secret merge, will you have stuff to be able to do or
Yes, yep. So yeah, all set. Just yeah, I think that's the main thing at the moment, and then yes, there will be more work to do after that.
cool. Okay then. Who else needs to leave probably? Maybe Charles or
Yeah, I can go. Like, my updates are pretty much what I just like using. I've been using my time to get the view secrets as well as the attached secrets flow to work properly, and collaborating with Kyle as well, just to see like what the best approach is. But yeah, I will incorporate like being more like data. I will display more data, as you said, Matthew, and then hopefully that will be ready soon. I can fix up the models to show those information, and the view, like the icon, can also pop up more information that's needed.
cool. In general, by the way, we should never have an API that is returning information that is unused. If that's the case, we should remove it from the API.
Yeah, I was just yeah, I agree. I agree. Like right now, I think the only information that we're not using is the amount. So I'll brainstorm with Kyle and
I
see
mean, for
how
the
to
other
display
APIs.
that. Yeah,
I just mean for the other APIs too,
yeah,
though.
yeah. Okay.
Just in general. I mean, there will be some because some of them return incorrect information at the moment, but uh, just conceptually, I think it just makes sure that we don't have any redundant because it highlights an issue with the design. Cool, good job there. Any other comments about things that are blocking you? Like, what do you work on next after that, I guess?
What I'm working on next is probably scope out. Like, I need to go through the front end tasks in the backlog, in my backlog, and see what is next. So I guess like for at least in your perspective, Matthew, like what do you want to see next for the front end in order to make the entire create and edit workspace wizard to happen?
I think definitely these. I don't know if we were going to merge the stub for the options. You know what I mean? That like the front end should, even if the back end has. I think we've kind of agreed on the API. Of course, the actual implementation is not there yet in terms of how the controller will be in. It's almost, but like I think the front end should call it, even if the front end does no filter, back end does no filtering for it. You know what I mean? Like that it's like it should assume like get that flow in. You know what I mean? That it's saying I choose an image, this image may now not be supported in the other category of options, the pod configs. I don't know if that's the next priority, but I know that there's going to be a lot of additional API calls there, so it's like maybe we should think about that.
So yeah, there's no stub there for that yet. But that's reasonable. And then really like it just no ops. You just always get both lists, which is
Yeah,
kind of the
which is the
behavior
full list.
today. That's fine. Like I said, I think logos and icons, we are at a point with minimal front end involvement, like less than, a week, like a day or two, we can close that story out completely, like not stub, just it is done. And update workspace, like I said, I think realistically we won't get traction next week just because the shortened US holiday. But update workspace we can start to do, and then there's some fun, funky front end stuff there. Update workspace itself isn't really that interesting, but this starts to hint at kind of trying as much as possible, as you've commented in the past, Matthew, of like dynamically generating these update forms versus like explicitly like hard coding, like, how those forms look. And this is more so like a dry run than to the horror showcase that is workspace kind update, which then that kind of, having that general framework or system or understanding in place becomes very important in workspace kind, because that definition will be horrific. You know what I mean? Coming back because of all the fields and deeply nested objects that exist in there.
Yep. The workspace kind of update, I think we talked a lot about it last time. We can talk about it later. But Charles, so do you understand what we're saying? Has Andy showed you the flow where like you, as part of the create or update workspace, you get your options by calling a
Yeah.
a specific API, and then when the user selects one,
Yeah. We talked about like the filtering and how which part is handled by the front end and which part is handled by the back end. But yeah, I just want to I guess bring up like are we trying to at least prepare the front end for that, or should we wait for the stub to come out? Like
oh, the stuff
let's try and
you should
yeah.
integrate with the stub. That's
Of
obviously.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, so the stub is pretty much done. I just don't think I don't think we've got a pull request for it yet. But like the API, I doubt will change. But effectively, what it means is that now when you get a workspace kind, the options will not be returned to you. I think is like that's those will be ripped out of the workspace kind. Are they currently returned by the workspace kind? They are, right?
They are, yes.
The API, the get workspace kind, yeah. So
Yes.
um, I guess
I don't think we'll necessarily rip that out yet, but the point is you're not going to use it because you'll get that information.
I think we do actually have to rip it out because the other API will also in the future filter off users. You know what I mean? Like so about who you are. And so like I mean we could do it in the other one as well. We could just nest the other one in there, but that just seems messy, right? Like it's like and you don't have to do it immediately. You don't have to make two API calls as the thing starts. You can just go create and then it's like you show the workspace change page, like give it a name, choose a kind, right? Obviously. Then you do oh wait, do we ever need to do a get? We don't, right? Like
Again, on what? I'm sorry.
on a workspace. Like we're never kind. We'll never so or or did we so I'm trying to remember if the stub had get workspace or was it on get workspace options? It was on get workspace options, right?
Yes.
So like that means that will the user ever need to do a get workspace? They won't, right? That was exclusively for the admin stuff, right?
Well,
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
I'm
workspace
confused
kind.
because
Sorry,
aren't we?
sorry,
You have
sorry,
create workspace highlighted, so I'm.
sorry, no, sorry, I'm saying the wrong thing. I was highlighting something else. What I'm meaning is get workspace kind will not be called by the user ever. That's just not a thing. Like there'll be list workspace kind, which will show them the information.
Yes,
And
I'm
so,
sorry. On this flow, you are correct. There's no get workspace kind here. The list
do we
of
currently do that? We must currently do that, right? Or not?
we call list workspace kinds today. We don't call get workspace kind. Oh, no. I guess we must have to show the options. So yeah, so that will need to change. Yes.
So even the list workspace kind API should remove all the options, is what I'm saying, probably,
Yeah,
right?
yes. Okay, yes. We are not doing that today, but I'm completely in agreement. This is because this is part of that refactoring. These legacy APIs now didn't have this concept of like the list item model is very different from the get model, right? So we just need to apply that
So that's
here.
what I'm saying, Charles, is probably the next step, is why like that we can try and get that stub out pretty quickly because it's not that complex to add. But the front end will lose the ability to see its options from the workspace get or list API, whatever it's currently using. So
Yeah.
so that means that you'll have to separately make a secondary call when the user
Yep,
gets
yep.
the update option step, even if that API just currently
Mhm.
returns all the options no matter what, same as the current one. It's just like right.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
this is like conceptually, this is very similar to what I did with the update workspace stub, even though, like I said, I need to make more changes with that based on a call earlier this week. But as part of that update workspace stub API I opened, there are actually changes to the model of list and get. You know what I mean? Even though this is the update API, list and get need to change to like align with this paradigm. So that like kind of similarly here, even though we're going to do like adding these new endpoints, this has a knock-on effect of the other kind of read style endpoints to get everything aligned. So we can definitely queue that up as the next stub.
So in that vein, though, we haven't revisited what what is going to happen to workspace kind list and get in not get well, get is never going to be called by the user. So list, will it be a separate path, or how will we indicate that this is not an admin list? You know what I mean? That this is a user list.
We have already talked about
It's
this.
the namespace.
It was the namespace filter query param is where we landed. There's a GitHub issue written up on this. I assigned it to a community member that had reached out. I talked to them last week. They said they'd get to it this week. I've seen no traction, so I'll reach out to them again next Monday. But if I come back after Thanksgiving and there still isn't a PR there, this is like, 1 day of work. So I'll probably just spin that up. I, tried, but it shouldn't take 4 weeks to get this piece in place.
And effectively, yeah, you should like effectively the API should reject you if the provided user credential, like username, sorry, user group doesn't have permission to list at the works. We won't give the users.
The way we had designed it was it'll actually the SAR is on if you can create a workspace in that namespace, you can see the workspace kinds is how that was structured right now.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, how do we indicate whether you're allowed to list all the workspace kinds in the cluster? That's that line. See their true values. That's kind of what I'm saying. Because like passing in.
So you don't pass the namespace query parameter, and then we check to make sure you have the list workspace kinds permission in that case.
Right now, I think everyone does. Like we need to then remove the permission to list workspace kinds from user bindings. That's kind of what I'm saying.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's because currently everyone has that, I believe.
Yes, sorry, that's a good point. I'll make sure the implementation ticket has that note.
Like yeah, that's just. Or we could do it on create. I think we also debated having it on create, But if we wanted to, it depends on if we agree that there is no secrets in the workspace kind API, If there is, then meaning you don't have secret options, that you just have hidden options, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so in that case, it's probably fine to allow them to list. But then we would need to use delete or create, you know what I mean? So that it's like someone has an elevated permission or update maybe, an elevated permission or workspace kind allows you to use the list everything. Because that means like effectively that's probably how we'll indicate that you're an admin, right? That you have update workspace kind as a permission, which normal users won't have. So like it's
yeah, okay, yeah. I'll do a double check and make sure that issues calls that out. Because I don't think that potentially adjusting existing role bindings, I don't think I called out that nuance. So yep, that's a good call.
And will the model returned by the user one and the admin one be different or the same?
Right now, I think they're the same, but that isn't necessary. It's not required. I don't think there's a reason to make them different right now, but they certainly could be. And I could, as we go to do this, I'm happy to split out the two different models, even if they do map 1-to-1 right now with a to-do comment that they could diverge over time.
Okay, cool. Polo, sorry, I skipped over you, so you can do your one. If you need to go, you can.
Oh, it's okay. So just two updates that I fixed the refresh routing issue in the front end that Andy caught during his Tilt development PR. It's on sent to his PR, so it's not merged on the notebook switch branch yet. And also upgraded some vulnerable front end packages that I got here locally.
Nice.
And reviewed PRs. And yeah, that's it.
What are you going to work on next?
I have some internal Red Hat tasks to work on.
But even after that, like what is your kind of target for the next time you have?
I mean, the internal Red Hat task is really vendoring this and getting it in product. And so it's like, yes, it's a Red Hat task, but that will most likely stream back up to here where we think there's abstraction capabilities and whatnot.
Do you want that vendor customized stuff to be documented so that you can use that, or?
It's not that aspect. It's really about the pluggability of the UI to embed it in non-central dashboard use cases. This starts to get into like modular extension stuff and, can we properly decorate and annotate things as needed? So it's
sure.
Figuring that out, right? We're not making any assumptions right now, but it's kind of like a, figuring out where the Red Hat space is on what it wants and then figuring out what, reasonably we could upstream, and that's kind of where Paula's head's at.
So
right
replacing the dashboard with something else with the intention that vendored products still use the front end. You know what I mean? Like I still intend that the users will use the front end,
Yes.
Of course, they need to be able to style it and whatever else. That's fine, but the conceptual block should be the same. Like like I don't intend users can do whatever they want, but I don't intend people to be like structurally changing the flow of thing. Maybe they could add a custom CRD that their platform has or something, as another option or something. Who knows? But
Yeah, or even for us, it was really like you can like, maybe, like it is a potential example, you might just not call this a workspace, right? Red Hat product calls this a workbench. And so it's like, do you have hooks where you could potentially have a module federation package to like override these kinds of things? And
I
it's
would
like,
push back on that from like a Kubeflow community perspective, being like, you can't rename the product. I think that that's probably a trademark violation in some sense. Like I would
the
push
name of a table, I don't know.
like
We,
what I'm
we can
saying
talk
is
about it more, but
yeah. I'm more saying like I'm okay to talk about it, but like in the same way I wouldn't want someone making Kubeflow pipelines and then calling it Kubeflow Jeff. You know what I mean? Like I would prefer that they actually use the word pipelines if it's actually pipelines beneath the hood from a user understanding perspective. Notebooks itself obviously is going to probably get renamed to workspaces at some point. So like it's going to be very confusing. I would caution Red Hat against confusing users in such a way. That's my only kind of
noted. And don't like I was just trying to
yeah.
provide a simple example, but like, label replacement where appropriate, maybe that was a bad one, but it's like, what was a vendoring, but to your point, the general page flow, pages, all that, the intention is to stay the same. It's like maybe you need to add another column for something you know what I mean? It's like those types of use cases just
Like
to get a
so
handle.
my thought process is you can probably name them whatever the heck you want. I think it would be very confusing for users, but I think we would probably require that you have a powered by Kubeflow workspaces somewhere on the page. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And
Like
there
that's
is, yeah, attribution on all that stuff for like tying this into this is where the actual upstream project is like
again, it's Apache
absolutely in
2.0
product.
license. I can't do that, but what I can do is say to use the word Kubeflow, you must do that. You know what I mean? Like that's like we do own the Kubeflow trademark, so we can say if you claim to be Kubeflow, you must attribute or not use the word Kubeflow, in which case you must fork and fully remove the word Kubeflow, right? Which of course is the option and prerogative of any company. Um, of course, it's a bit weird, but um, cool.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so as Paulo says, working on internal stuff, it's for figuring out what that story is and what the proposal we'd bring back to the upstream on, what is the right level of customization versus not. So that's what we're struggling with right now.
yeah, makes sense. Okay, cool. Please, yeah, reach out if you. I think it's about creating an API that suits everyone for their own customization. You can imagine that even companies might want to vendor stuff in their own internal. Maybe they want to add words that say, "Hey, GPUs are expensive. Please don't mess around." Or whatever. Like they might like they adding wording elsewhere in the page might also be something admins want to do. But that's up to everyone. Okay, Polo. So you've got that, I guess. Cool. Anyone else who hasn't gone yet? Hashad? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
on mine, I'm trying to uh, find out some more details about the culling, especially for to look into a code server in RStudio, because it's literally different from what we did it for Jupyter. So trying to gather some information, I'm putting together some things so that we all can discuss
So we
in
need to
the
get a
upcoming
PR first.
meetings.
But so like there's a generic API which is only there for backwards compatibility. We don't intend to actually integrate directly with RStudio or VS Code. We would intend the user to write a script to do it, right?
Yeah, just trying to look into those bits so that I can at least, while discussing, at least I know what we are discussing. So I'm trying to understand what a user would write a script, and that's what I'm trying to look into.
I think that's
Yeah.
fine. I do think
Uh,
if you're going to focus on that, you should focus on trying to get that pull request merged or a new one created. You know what I mean? That actually implements the culling controller.
I thought we wanted to discuss it as a design doc first, even before
That's
getting
what I mean,
into
right?
implementation, right?
That's what I
Yeah,
mean. Like,
that's what I'm trying
propose
to
that.
like write down into docs. Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. Nothing implementation wise. Just for myself, I'm just trying to understand these bits, and then I can talk more between, at least between us, as we continue to different next meeting. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How's that going? Is there any other blockers there?
Not yet. Yeah, I'm still figuring out a few more things, once I have that, I'll ask more questions.
Yeah, because obviously I just love to see a design doc, even if it's terrible to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, unless
Same thing.
controllers are always painful to write up design docs for because they always are more complex than you realize. But just getting a stab from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
you
where, that's
mentioned
what
the
me and
same
Harsad
thing.
were talking about.
So
It's like that initial line in the
yeah,
sand is much more important than when we're going to implement it. But like you were saying with the SSH stuff too, we just want to be able to have a document that reasonably says, "Yep, we feel good about this," and then we can figure out when to pull the trigger on building the thing. But just having that queued up, I think, is most important.
But it's implementation details I care about.
except
Yes.
yeah. Like it's expect a doc from me by next this week upcoming Monday. I'm just writing a few more things on my rough work for today, and then on
But
by
even if it's
Monday I'll share
terrible,
it with you all.
I don't mind. Like, it's even
Yeah,
if it's terrible, we just need a starting point to have a discussion and then iterate on. That's all.
yeah,
Cool. Okay, I'll
yeah.
stop the
We'll do
recording. I
that.
think we're good. Anyone else got anything they want to add? I know we went a lot over time. Thanks, everyone.